I thought, should just start a podcast. I love chatting with people. You know, people need to be vocal with their beliefs.
Yeah.
I think before we know it, it's going to be hard to speak out. Already is. It's words. Why can't we just say words?
Yeah,
that's a word.
real,
if you
bro.
can't handle a word,
get off the internet.
Get off the internet.
Welcome to the Spencer Whiteout podcast. Rated R.
You have some criminal charges with you, bro. Guess like we're avoiding the shark. Call it leather fetish.
No, great turbo neck guy.
I'll give you a kiss. You give me your number.
Got checked out a ton, dude. Tell me you felt.
We're Americans. We're the ones that are descendants from the 1776 musket-bearing motherfuckers.
Welcome back to the Spencer Whiteout podcast. This is episode number 38. In this episode, I speak with my brother from the land down under, Fabian Vacca. We talk all about his journey as a musician and podcaster. Let's dive in. Dude, super stoked to finally meet you and make the connection.
Yeah. Likewise, man. Likewise. Thank you.
So do you remember how we met online?
I was researching Perth bands for my podcast. And Darkmatter somehow popped up on my radar, and I just didn't know anything about them. Didn't even know who was in the band or anything. So I think I went on their Instagram, on their link tree thing or something like that, and I saw a podcast with Josh, and I was like, oh, have a listen to that. And I had a listen, shared it to my bandmate because I thought it was really cool. And then I think, did I add you or something on Instagram?
Yeah, and that was my podcast, right?
Yeah.
I remember since I was a big fan of Darkmatter, I was following them, and then they posted a podcast with you, and it was like an hour and a half, and I was like, oh, hell yeah, I've got to listen to this.
Yeah.
And then I think we just messaged from there, and it was cool that we both interviewed the same band. And Josh is a great guy, so shout out to Darkmatter once again. I give him a shout out on every episode I can, really.
How did you find out about them?
I think it was on Core Radio, which is like a site that is metalcore leaks. And I liked the album cover. It was for Parasite Culture. It was way back in the day. And, you know, it said like new metalcore from Australia. And so I was like, dude, that's a perfect recipe. You guys got the best metalcore bands, especially that new metalcore flavor. So I checked it out. I loved it. And then around that time, when I was kind of starting my podcast and starting to branch out and wanting to interview bands, that was part of the strategy, was start interviewing these smaller bands, you know, because they're much more likely to respond, you know. And a lot of these guys are super down to earth, you know. They're just trying to get the word out there about their art, just the same as I'm trying to do with my art. So I reached out to him, DM'd him, and then the rest is history. And then, you and I followed each other on Instagram and just started keeping up and swapping music tastes. And obviously you've got a rad band, and now you're in town in Anaheim. So talk about why you
That's
came.
random, too.
Yeah, dude, that was so crazy when you reached out and you were like, oh yeah, I'm going to be in America soon. I was like, oh yeah, what part? You're like, it's a little place called Anaheim. I'm like, dude, that's where I live.
That's
like,
crazy.
We have to do a podcast together.
What's the chances of that actually?
I know. So
happening?
tell us about why you're in town and the NAMM Show.
Okay, so I'm here with Ormsby Guitars. I'm an endorsed artist. Ormsby's a Western Australian guitar brand, and they're worldwide now, I guess. You know, they got Dino Cazares from Fear Factory, and they got heaps of other talented guys. And then, they obviously have a booth at NAMM, and they asked who wants to come and who could afford it, because it's not cheap.
Yeah.
We didn't have to pay for any of the NAMM costs, you know, as far as the entry fee or whatever it is. I don't know how it works. I'm not privy to that. But as far as flights and accommodation and all that kind of thing, although they had a kind of like a artist house where they all stayed, like a Airbnb thing. But I didn't stay there because I'm with my wife. So, and we just thought
probably not the vibe.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was because it's not crazy. They're all pretty responsible people, I'm sure, but it's kind of privacy, you know. So we decided to come over here and thought I'll get a few days beforehand and check out Hollywood. That was cool, but it's different, very different. Beverly Hills is awesome. I love that place.
How long is the trip total? Because you've been here
10
for a
days.
while. 10 days. Okay.
Yeah, so we leave tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that was cool. And then we checked out Venice Beach. That was very disappointing. There's just heaps of homeless junkies wandering around and wigging out and talking to themselves. And then we were trying to find the skate bowl that's there.
Yeah,
we're trying to find that. And then like the Venice Beach sign and then the Muscle Beach thing or whatever. And we were walking down the footpath. And then the cops wouldn't let us pass. There was all these cop cars there, and there was some chick wigging out.
Man, welcome to LA.
Yeah, well, where we stayed in West Hollywood, pretty nice. It was kind of central to, Rainbow Bar and Grill and Whiskey A Go Go. It was near everything cool and Rodeo Drive. But yeah, there was just homeless people everywhere.
Yeah, it's really sad.
And they talk to themselves a lot. We don't see that really where I'm from in Perth. Oh, I'm not in Perth. I'm south of Perth. But even driving through Perth, you see homeless people, but it's like another level here. So like, shit, that's crazy.
Those are some of the lowlights of the trip. What about the highlights of the trip so far?
Yeah, so obviously checking out like Beverly Hills and all that. Oh, and then we went to Rainbow Bar and Grill, and that was so cool to see all the memorabilia hanging up everywhere, and there was heaps of musicians in there, none that I knew, but they all looked like they were kind of a big deal, but I think they probably dressed that way.
Yeah.
But then went to Whiskey A Go-Go, bumped into Phil Demmel, ex-Machine Head, is with Violence now.
Like randomly, you just bumped into them?
Well, I knew he was playing a show there. I saw it online.
Oh, okay.
But then
okay.
I just happened to be upstairs there, and then I saw him up there, and I just went up, and because I've known him for about 20 years, because he came to Australia back in 2004 with Machine Head, and we became kind of associates, I guess. And yeah, when he turned around, he's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" That was crazy. So yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then some of the highlights from there, we went to Universal and Warner Brothers. And that was a very big eye-opener because I've watched a lot of movies when I was growing up, Hollywood, you know. I'm sure you being from the US, it's probably not as much of a shock to you because it's part of your culture and all that. But being in Australia, everything we see is about America, you know, America.
Yeah.
And then you go and see here behind the scenes on, like, you know, where they film Friends or like stuff like that. And there's these buildings and they look like real buildings, but it's just a facade. That's just like the front of a building. Then you go next to it and there's nothing there. It's just like wood holding it up. And I was like, is that where they film like actual street scenes of movies? They're like, yeah, it's not on the street in the city. And I was like,
yeah, it's on a film lot is what it's called.
Yeah, that's right. No, because what I thought when they film big scenes on a street in the city and there's traffic, I thought, how the fuck do they just stop all this traffic to film scenes? And then I was just like, so they actually don't. There's so much that goes into the movies.
Or if they have enough money, they can shut down certain sections of LA and that kind of thing. Like Tarantino for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, they were shooting in Hollywood.
Okay.
And the Dome, it's like a famous landmark.
Recall, yeah.
Did you guys get to go down Hollywood Boulevard and Sunset Boulevard? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's right along there. There's a lot of iconic stuff.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, there was a lot going on.
Yeah. So how did you get sponsored by Ormsby? And tell me a little bit about that relationship.
Oh, so I used to play, I owned a couple of ESP guitars, and I had this Steph Carpenter model. You know who Steph Carpenter is from Deftones?
The guitar player?
Yes.
Yeah.
I had one of his guitars and it needed to be set up. So I just looked up guitar places in Perth and Ormsby Guitars came up. I rang him up and said, "Oh, can you set up my guitar for me?" And Perry, the owner, he was like, "Yeah, right, bring it by." So I brought it by there and we just got chatting and he said, "I'll make guitars too." I was like, "Oh, righto." So then I found out they made guitars and I thought, man, I kind of want one of them. So I bought one probably a couple of years later maybe. And then I got him to set it up because I bought it from a shop. You know, when you buy something from a shop, you know, the strings are old. And so I was like, oh, I need it set up. So I took it to them, kind of got to know him, bought more Ormsby's, started a band, played some shows. And then I just had heaps of people would come up to me and ask about the guitars. And I didn't sell them, but probably responsible for probably like maybe 10 or 11 sales of the guitars, so I probably made them a bit of money.
Yeah.
And then I was just tagging them in stuff on social media. And yeah, so I kind of got to know Perry, the owner, and then his assistant, Luthier, Jet. And I would just go in there every now and then. I'd chat with him, and he loves a good chat. Perry loves to chat.
You should have him on your podcast.
Yeah, I was speaking to him about it the other day.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Yeah,
it's in the works.
Yeah. I really like the guitars, and I really like the company, you know. And so I was like, oh, man, I'd love to. But I looked at their endorsement criteria on their website, and I don't meet it, you know what I mean? I don't have 20,000 followers or albums or fucking record deals or shit like that or international tours. I was like, I could never get endorsed by this company, but I'd love to be like part of their team just because I really got to know him really well and I loved everyone that worked there.
Love the product, love the people.
Yeah, right? That's right. And I was like, I really want to support these guys. And then I just hit him up one day. I said, hey, so what do you have to do to be endorsed by you guys? I see, you know, you got your process on there, but fuck, I'd love to be part of the Ormsby family. And he's like, yeah, right, no worries, I'll make it happen. I was like, oh,
that easy.
Okay.
I mean, perks to being a cool person and being down to earth and you're supporting it. You genuinely love the product. You're recommending it to people.
That's
like you're
right.
already a part of the family.
That's right. So. Because it's got to be mutually beneficial. They have to, you know, it's a business partnership really, isn't it? If you think about it.
Yeah.
If I'm endorsing their products, they want to get residual sales, I guess, from, so yeah, that's how they look at it and that's how that happened.
Yeah. Did you hear that?
What is that?
I don't know. I think we're back.
Yeah. So anyway, I reckon in NAMM I would have walked like 100 miles talking to people, and then you would go for walks with the other artists and stuff, and it's huge.
Yeah.
It is huge, man. It's actually unfathomable how big it is. Insane. It is so big. And I walked around for 4 days, and on the last day, I was still discovering shit. How have I not seen everything? Yeah, there was heaps of stuff I still didn't see, tons of stuff, but yeah, I saw a lot of what I wanted to see. So
there you go.
But I had an obligation to be, there for Ormsby Guitars to hang out by the booth and greet people and chat, and met heaps of awesome people. Met some cool people that I look up to, musicians as well, which was really cool. So yeah, it was a very good opportunity that I'm grateful for.
Yeah, glad you got to do that, and sick that you're in town.
Yeah.
Let's talk about starting Exiled with Fabian podcast. Mm-hmm. The name inspiration, obviously, did that come first, or did the band come first? Because you got the band, which is Infinite Exile.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And then I couldn't think of a name. You know who Joe Rogan is, obviously.
Yes.
And there's an Australian term for like a redneck. It's called a bogan.
Bogan?
Bogan. 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 And that's just like, Australian redneck, drink beer, do burnouts in your car, shit like that,
Bogan. Okay, I'm learning new words over here.
I was just having a laugh, and I was going to call it the Joe Bogan podcast. And then I was like, no, I don't want to get sued. And then I asked my bandmate, Sam. He's just really good with thinking of shit, but his opinions hold weight with me. He goes, call it Exiled with Fabian Vacca. I was like, yeah, but it's like it doesn't have like a ring to it, like But then I just stuck with it. Band's Infinite Exile, and then I was like, plus I never fit in anywhere I go. I'm always exiled, I'm like never fit in, man. I'm always an exile. Yeah. And a lot of people I get on, when we have our chats on there, we get talking, and it seems to be a common theme with musicians or artists in general is you kind of never really fit in. You know what I mean? So I was never like the sports playing guy. I wasn't like a jock or whatever you call them. I was never cool, so I was always an exile. So kind of
well, dude, I guess now you're cool, dude. You got tattoos, you got guitar sponsorship, you got good music.
I'm cool in my own head, and my wife, I'm sure, thinks I'm cool. Yeah, and my mum.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
So, why did you want to start a podcast?
I like chatting, and I always feel like I'm misunderstood, and I always want people to know me differently to how they know me. You know what I mean?
And when you have a certain look, we like the tattoos, right. The black clothes, all that. Like people kind of look at you a certain way.
Yeah, that's right. And in my the industry I work in, I don't fit in. A lot of people not interested in knowing me, whatever. But I love talking to people, and I thought should have started a podcast. I love chatting with people. I love talking about video games, music, whatever. And so I just thought I'm going to do that, and then I just asked a mate that was in another band if he wants to come on the first episode, see how it goes, and he did, and it was cool. Heaps of mutual people listened to it and thought it was cool, so I just kept doing it, and yeah.
Well, what about the startup though? Because did you buy all this equipment and be like, I'm in this for the long run? Because it's like there is a little barrier of entry when you're starting a podcast if you want it to sound professional.
Well, actually, I jumped on a podcast with his name's John King from the Heavy Sweater podcast. Lives in the eastern states of Australia, other side of the country to me, and he had me on his podcast, and I enjoyed it, and it was cool. And so I asked him, what do I need, what equipment, and he just gave me an outline of stuff I need, helped me out with it. It was really helpful. There has been ups and downs. Like there's a few people I wanted to get on that would stuffing me around or this or that, and so I kind of got disheartened a few times. Thought, I'm just going to sell all the shit. I can't bother with it. And then every time I do a podcast, I realise I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'm like,
That's good. Yeah, don't pull the plug, man. You got a good thing going, and I've listened to 4 of your episodes, and I really enjoy them all.
Yeah.
Obviously, I love the one with Josh Darkmatter. Listen to Josh Ang.
Yeah.
Listen to Sean Cox, Daybreak.
Yeah,
super sick.
That was cool. He's a fucking legend.
Yeah. Dude, I want to have him on the podcast too at some point. Maybe you can connect us at some point.
I'll hit him up, yeah.
I'm excited to hear their new tunes. It sounds so cool that it's going to have some more electronic influences, drum and bass, like that kind of thing.
It's really, really, really cool, man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, dude. They blew me away in 2017 with that Death Dreams EP. Lost Sentience is the first song on that. That one blew me away.
Yeah.
Super sick.
He's an awesome vocalist too. He's got a lot of energy and charisma.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Well, he's a fighter, so.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah. I think...
what is that? Is it a vacuum out there?
I think so. The thing is, every morning at 6 o'clock, their laundry's right here.
No way.
They're just smashing shit against the wall, doing all this and that. And so I'm paying for a room, and the sun's not even up yet, and you're waking me up.
Yeah, so right now, what hotel are we in, Fabian?
Ramada.
We're in the Ramada Hotel
Yeah.
in Anaheim. Trying to record a podcast here. We got all these interruptions, but it's okay. You got to roll with the
you could probably
punches.
cut some of that out, I guess, if you have to.
Yeah, we'll see. Tell me about your favorite guests that you've had on so far on the podcast and some highlights.
There's a few equal ones that are like my favorite episodes that I really enjoyed to listen back to as well. One of them is Josh Ang, Josh Grenfell, Sean Cox. Like, everyone's been awesome, but
Those are all the ones I mentioned.
they were definitely highlights. And then another one was Red Pepper.
Yeah, I saw that. He's the voice narrator guy.
Yeah, he does,
right?
like,
Movie trailers and
this
stuff.
summer.
This summer.
Rated R.
Yeah,
Coming to a cinema near you.
all that kind of shit. Yeah, and he narrated a character in one of my favorite video games when I grew up. So
How did that connection happen?
that's so random. It's unbelievable too. I was just reminiscing on that game, and then I thought, I wonder who the voice actor for that. And then this was a game that came out in 1999,
Which game?
Shadow Man.
Okay.
You play as like a black voodoo guy. Cool game. You should play it. They remastered it recently. It's fucking awesome. And so, yeah, I just looked him up, and I was like, oh, and then I looked up his Instagram, and I was like, oh, cool. And I added him, and then he followed me back. And then, you know those old London phone booths, the old red ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a video of him walking into one of them and then walking out. And I just wrote on there, I forgot phone booths even existed anymore, or something like that. And then he sent me a DM, and it said, hey, Fabian, I've been looking at your profile for a while. I really love your guitar playing, and you look like you really love your family, and that's cool, and I'm down with that. I love people that aren't afraid to, show love for their family on social media. A lot of people don't want to show anything to do with their family or whatever on there, which I get for privacy reasons or whatever. But, yeah, and he just thought I seemed like a down-to-earth guy or something like that. And he goes, hey, I actually like your music. He goes, I run a radio station in London. Can I stream some of your stuff on there and just do voiceovers over it?
That's
I
awesome.
thought, this is 100% a scam. No, because I was like, there's no fucking
You're
way.
like, is there a blue check mark next to your name? Is
I
this a scam?
I was
What's
just like,
going
there's
on?
no way this... Well, you can pay for them now, so they don't mean anything anymore, do they?
Yeah, I know,
Right,
right?
so I rang up our manager, and I said, hey, can this guy, use our music? And he goes, oh, yeah, I guess so. He goes, I might get flagged on YouTube or something, but I guess so. There's no issue with it, really, as long as he's not making any kind of money off it or whatever. I said, yeah, whatever. So I said to him, I think it's something we need to discuss. I'm honoured, but I was saying that at the same time I was thinking this could be fake, but, if it's you, I'm honoured that you really dig our music.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, we could set up a Zoom chat, 100%. And he sent me a link for the next day, and he booked in a time. He's like...
How you doing, Fabian?
I'm like...
Yeah, with his
Fuck,
super
holy
deep
fuck.
voice.
Yeah, and then it was a video Zoom, so we chatted for ages. Like the whole time, I was like, I cannot believe that I'm
Talking to your favorite video game character.
I'm talking to this guy that narrated like my favorite video game when I was a kid, and I was like, that's crazy. And then
That's awesome.
yeah, so we want to do a collab with him sometime, like get him to maybe narrate like a trailer for some new songs coming out, like
This summer, Infinite Exile.
That'd be super
Coming
cool.
to a venue
or
near
like a
you.
breakdown call out. He says something.
Yeah, me and him have actually spoken about it. He's keen to do it, so it's a matter of just making it happen.
That's awesome. And when you did that interview, that was remote then, huh?
Yes, it was, and I prefer not to do the remote. So
Yeah.
I've only done 2 or 3. Another one was Neil Timon from Carnifex. And because you're beholden to their quality of camera and mic, and Neil from Carnifex, he used his phone, and that's fine. That was a privilege to speak to him, and I'm grateful. But kind of the quality sucked,
Right, yeah.
But when they come back through, me and him chat a lot. So when they come back through, I'm sure we'll do one in person. I'll probably
Yeah.
pick him up and he can come to my house or whatever.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, sometimes those remote ones really do bring some
Yeah.
challenges.
And that's the thing. And then I'm like, because we're so remote, not many bands even come through Perth. And I'm like, it's going to really narrow down who I can speak to. But I did primarily start it to speak to people in Perth, bands in
yeah,
Perth.
and you guys got a lot of good bands.
Yeah, we
in
do.
Perth.
So there's no shortage. There's heaps of people I still want to chat to, tons. So, maybe later on when I get better with it, maybe I can have like a portable setup. That I could take, but at the same time, you want to have good lighting and stuff like that. So it's probably, I prefer to do it at my house, but yeah.
So how did you get into playing music, and what were some of your early influences?
So I got into playing music. One of my older brothers is unfortunately not with us anymore, but he played guitar, and then he kind of taught me some stuff on guitar, and then I kind of dabbled with it from there, and then Yeah, and some of my early influences, Megadeth, Pantera, Metallica, Guns N' Roses. So I remember playing Lego, listening to Sepultura Roots, that album, and Great Southern Trendkill. Yeah, and I was just flat out listening to that heavy shit, and I just love it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was my influences, is that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah. Do you remember the first album you bought?
Probably the first one I bought would have been Machine Head or Slayer. 100% would have been one of them. And then I remember that I used to also go to this big record store called, I think it was called 78 Records. Because it had no internet, I just used to look like I thought the cover was cool. I remember I bought a Cradle of Filth album. I didn't know anything about them. I can't remember which one I bought, but the cover just looked cool. And then I went home and listened to it, and I was like, oh, this actually ain't too bad.
Dude, saying I bought Cradle of Filth, I went home and said, oh, this ain't too bad. That's just such a funny reaction. Well, I've never heard anyone say that. Oh, it's not too bad. It's like the most extreme, vile, crazy music. And Fabian says, that's not too bad.
Yeah. I remember this thing I used to do, because this is how badly I wanted to be in a band and play gigs, is that I used to put on, say, a Machine Head album, some of my favourite stuff, and then I would, on my computer, I had this Sound Blaster live sound card or whatever, and it came with this program that you could put reverb and make it sound like it was in a hole. So it'd sound like it was live. So I'd listen to all these albums with heaps of reverb and lay in bed with headphones on.
Pretend you're at the show.
Pretend I was at the shows. Pretend I was playing them.
Oh, dude, that's cool. That's cool.
But that's just like...
we all got stuff like that.
But that's just like how badly I wanted to like be in a band or whatever. And obviously my priorities have changed now. You know, life gets in the way with a lot of stuff.
Tell me about the music scene where you're from out there in Australia. What was the city you're from exactly?
Oh, the city I'm from is Mandurah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a cool city. It's actually... it's got an awesome like foreshore area. Do you know what a foreshore is? Would you call that over here? It's like a waterfront area where the river goes through and it kind of splits the part of the city in two, and there's an awesome waterfront. It's amazing. It's a really amazing city. It's got a really bad drug problem though, unfortunately, like anywhere. There's actually a few cool bands that came from there. Not any that you would know of, but there's a lot of good musicians there. But there's no live scene at all in the city. There isn't. There's like cover bands that play at bars. That's it. There's no like originals. Not that I'm aware of anyway, nothing notable. But in Perth itself, yeah, the scene is awesome. There's so many good bands. And every time we play gigs, I'm just blown away by bands we play with, or just when I go see gigs. And it's actually really inspiring. Every time I see Perth band play, it makes me want to be better. It makes me like a bit competitive, you know. So there's heaps of killer bands.
Yeah.
So many good musicians.
And then we'll get to talking about your band, Infinite Exile, in just a minute. But I wanted to ask how you balance, you know, the music, the podcasting, work, and family life.
I'm really driven. So if I want to do something, I'll just do it. I don't talk about doing things. I just do it. That's one of my pet peeves is people that constantly talk. I'm going to do this, going to do that. I'm like, just do it. Tell me about it after once you've done it or whatever. There's that. I'm really driven. And also my wife, she like, you know, looked after the kids a lot and raised them while I was recording or doing whatever I needed to do. Definitely owe a lot to her, and probably my mum. She's helped out a lot as well. Like if me and the wife had to go somewhere, well, she's looking after the kids now while we're in America. So,
How many kids do you have?
Two.
Okay. How old are they?
5 and 2.
Nice.
They're awesome, but they're crazy.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about Infinite Exile. Let's talk about the formation of this band. When did you guys start?
I think it was 2020. It was just as COVID pretty much was kicking off. Kind of then I was in another band, but then that fizzled out. Yeah, there was a few personality clashes there, and so then the bassist and the vocalist I bring with me to start Infinite Exile, and our first single, was pretty much mostly written then, and then we got a drummer in. He helped us out for a bit, and it was originally just I was the only guitarist, and then we got Sam in later, and yeah, that was fuck that vacuum. So it was about 2020 though. Yes.
Yeah, and then talk about your songwriting process.
A lot of times it starts with a drum beat. Funnily enough,
here comes the vacuum again.
They probably saw you coming here with all this equipment. They're like, fuck with these guys.
They're just standing right outside.
They're probably not vacuuming anything.
They just got it on.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. My
songwriting process.
So a lot of times it starts with a drum beat, actually, or a beat in my head. I don't know why particular drums. I love drums. I can't play drums. I don't know much about them. But it starts with like a drum beat, and then I'll come up with like some riffs or like a synth idea, because I've been working at a lot of synths now. So build it from there. But pretty much, I'll write everything pretty much.
Did you do the synths on the new single that we're going to preview?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was pretty
I did.
awesome.
I do the synths. I'm not very good at it, so I get like an outline of what it should sound like, and then I send it to the guy, Cody Brooks, that we're using. And then I said to him, but if you have better sounds to replace with, do that. But this is the vibe we're going for. But if you got way better quality, or even I've said to him, act as a sixth member of the band. If you think that there's something that could make the song better and elevate it to that next level that I can't see, that I haven't done, by all means do it. And he hasn't done anything yet that I haven't liked. And even with our previous guy that did our stuff, same thing. He was really good at just making the song better.
There you go. Yeah, that's great. And I got a follow-up question here because I'm a filmmaker, right? And so I tend to get inspired by music to create films. I love music so much, and I'm always inspired when I'm writing and stuff. I was wondering if for you, there's been any like movies that have inspired your music.
Yes, Blade Runner.
Yes.
I just
Dude,
love that.
I knew you were going to say that.
I love that dystopian,
So good.
futuristic, something about it, man. I could listen to the soundtrack to that just forever. It's just that vibe. And I've always, since I was a kid, because I grew up watching like Terminator, Fifth Element, them futuristic dystopian movies, lots of neon lights and wet streets, and like it's always raining and the skyscrapers, all the elites live up in the skyscrapers and all the people like us live down in the dirt, down the bottom there. And I've just always loved that aesthetic. I don't know why. I just love it so much. And I love the cyberpunk kind of culture, and even like the shit they wear, like that futuristic 80s. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. I just love that
it too.
And I love the guitar solos from 80s bands that had that synthwave kind of vibe to it, and all the old school video games, like the racing video games with like MIDI guitar solos.
Did you ever hear about an N64 game called F-Zero-X?
Yeah, that's
Dude,
like,
that
it was
game
like
was
60
sick,
frames
right?
per second game. Yeah, that was like their thing is that it's really fast.
Yeah, dude, that game was crazy.
Yeah,
Captain Falcon was in it. I really liked that one. That one had that like cyberpunk futuristic thing too. All the spaceships flying around.
Another game that had that was Perfect Dark. Did you ever play that?
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, that kind of shit. Yeah, to answer your question. Yeah,
now you guys are doing everything DIY. You're not signed, correct?
that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, and so how's that been so far? Having to do all this stuff yourself?
It's just stressful because I don't really know what I'm doing, and the hardest part has been how to find out how to get on good gigs with big bands. It seems like it's a lot of who you know kind of thing.
Have you guys played live shows before?
Yeah.
How have those been?
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, there's been some stinkers like anyone, but no, they've been pretty good. We haven't played anything like massive, but we've had some, definitely had some good shows. We went over the Eastern States, played a couple of shows there. That was pretty cool. That was good because we got some new listeners, Because when you're playing in your own town, people stop checking you out after a while because they've heard you. They know who you are. And I feel like if you've gotten out of our city, you get more recognition by the city you're from because they're like, oh, you've actually gone out of here. So you've kind of not made it, but
you've made it a little bit.
You made it out of Perth.
Made it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. What about the biggest obstacles you guys have faced as a band?
Probably getting on decent shows being the biggest obstacles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you said you talked to Sean, so maybe we'll get you guys on a Daybreak show. Anything coming up on that front?
Not at the moment because we're just waiting to finish up these songs. Obviously, one you're going to preview soon, and that'll be a single. So what we're going to do is we're going to release two
EPs, right?
Two EPs, yes. They're both going to be 3 songs each. And it seems like that's a good way to do it with a band of our size. We don't have a big following of people that are going to listen to 10 songs, I don't think, So I think 3 songs is good per EP. Yeah. So,
cool, yeah, let's play that song.
Yeah.
Nice, dude. I love it. That's the part that I was talking to you about earlier.
Yeah.
I love those synths in the background.
Yeah.
It just makes it sound so huge.
Yeah, cheers.
Anything else you could tell us about the upcoming EPs?
Well, yeah, obviously they're gonna be your 3 songs a piece. Yeah, we're gonna have some merch as well, some really cool merch. We just got some designs back for that.
Cool.
I'm not sure when this is coming out. We're still waiting on 2 more songs to be mixed for it fully, but it's close. And then as soon as we get something, we'll put it out there, and then hopefully tee something up with Daybreak.
Yeah, that'll work out good.
Yeah.
And if you guys had a message that you could put forward with the music, what do you think that would be?
People need to be vocal with their beliefs, I think. don't sit by and allow what's happening to happen.
There you go.
If you got your finger on the pulse, I think people can see what's happening.
Yeah.
And I think we need to be vocal, excuse me, while we can. You know what I mean? Because I think before we know it, it's going to be hard to speak out. Already is. There's a lot of things you say online instantly trigger like a shadow ban or something like that. I even saw the other day some page. I've noticed they've like starting to, when you see like text on like a meme or whatever, they're putting like an asterisk or whatever to mute out like a part of a word, like death. Is D asterisk ATH. It's like you can't say death anymore in a picture because Instagram will like flag that as being like negative connotations or something. And then another one I saw was something about someone that got executed. It was just about like some serial killer, and it says, they got executed for killing whatever. And execution was blurred out or whatever. And it's like, why? It's words. Why can't we just say words?
Yeah,
it's a word.
Real,
if you
bro.
can't handle a word,
Get off the internet.
get off the internet. It's only words. I just don't get how we've come to this position. Is that words are harmful or deemed harmful?
Yeah, anybody that thinks words are violence has obviously never been punched in the face before.
That's exactly right, man. And some of these people, I think, probably need a bit of an ass whooping. But
yeah. So where can people connect with you?
Obviously, my Instagram, Fabs on the gram. And that's not like a gram of drugs. That's just, I couldn't think of anything. It's just on the gram,
Instagram. Yeah.
But I got a YouTube channel, Exiled with Fabian Vacca. Check out the band, Infinite Exile. We're doing some cool shit. Some of these songs are really cool. And but yeah, check us out on there. Facebook, obviously. Follow our socials. And yeah, if you're in a cool band around Perth or local or whatever, and you even got cool stories about whatever, hit me up. I'd love to even speak to like
anybody
cool
that's got a good story.
Yeah,
right?
basically, man. Basically, yeah.
Sweet. Dude, well, it's super good to have you on. And like I said, man, it was just amazing that it worked out that you were in town. So it was really cool to meet and collaborate on a podcast. Dude.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for having me. It was cool to meet you. And yeah, I love Anaheim, man.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, do me a favor, leave a rating/review. 5 stars is a power play. Or share it with a friend who might enjoy it. I'd really appreciate it. Stay up to date by following me on social medias at Spencer Whiteout. And as always, stay tuned, stay hyped. That's a wrap.
And that's it.